They called us Indians, and they used their manifest destiny mentality to justify their genocide against us.
Check. Check.
Yeah.
Great chair. Here's the mic for you. It's on.
Okay. Okay. So here's
Get me a chair.
Okay, here's a chair right here. Are you okay?
Okay, so welcome to Metropolitan State University, St. Paul, Minnesota, to Minnesota. Fantastic. So we want to do the honor of starting this with our elders and the communities that have been here, have always been here in this community. So with that, I want to introduce our elder, Jim Claremont, is a member of the Lakota Nations. Rosebud, South Dakota. Jim has lived in the Twin Cities for many decades, serving the Native American community as a Native culture and language instructor, speaker, master of ceremonies at powwows across the country, healer, spiritual advisor, mentor, and works with incarcerated Native elders in Minnesota. Please join me in giving it up for Jim.
I'd like to, first of all, say good morning to each and every one of you.
Check, check, check. Oh, yani one state. Austin Owen, Imakiapi, Ka, Tashia Popo, Dawan, Imakiapi, Tita Wita, Shung Sapa, Ocheti, Hemetahan, Tamako Ta, Kahopi, Mie Wachi, Ka, Dawan, Nie Waku. Hello, good morning. My name is Austin Owen, but my Dakota name is Meadowlark Singer. I'm from Tita Wita Black Horse Camp, Prairie Island. I am Dakota and Hopi. I have come here to sing and pray for you. Way-oh, hey-oh, hey, way-oh, hey-oh, hey-oh, hey, way-oh, hey-oh, hey, way-oh, hey-oh, hey-oh, hey, way-oh, hey-oh, hey, way-oh, hey-oh, hey-oh, hey, waka taka oshi maraero hey, maka kiksero wane wachiero hey, chanu pakire yuha oye wayero hey, hey oh hey oh hey, hey oh hey oh hey oh hey, way oh hey oh hey, way oh hey oh hey oh hey, way oh hey oh hey, way oh hey oh hey oh hey oh, waka taka oshimara ero hey, maka kiksero wane wachiero hey, chanu pakire yuha oye wayero hey. Oh, Piname don't.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim. So appreciate all of you. Those of you who are standing at the back, please come, keep moving down. There are spaces here. Spaces here, so please keep moving down, right? Don't be a fire hazard over there. Okay, so here's the deal. We have the honor of having the president of the university to join us and to welcome you all. So I'm going to just do a quick description of our president, and then followed by she will welcome, and then she will introduce our guest of honor from St. Paul Mayor's office. So Virginia Arthur, right? I should call her president. President Arthur of Metropolitan State University has been in this position since 2016. Prior to her appointment as president, she had served for 4 years as the university's executive vice president and provost. Before coming to Metropolitan State University, President Arthur served for nearly 4 years at the University of Northern Iowa as associate provost for faculty affairs. She has served for the previous 24 years at the College of St. John's University. She started off when she was 5 years old, by the way, on the faculty of the Department of Management. She also served as chair of the Department of Management and as vice chair, and then chair of the Joint Faculty Assembly, right? President Arthur earned her bachelor's degree in economics and business administration at Syracuse University and the JD from American University, Washington College of Law. She is a native of the state of Minnesota. Well, no, I'm just kidding. She said she is a native of the state of New York, right? Any New Yorkers here? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Okay. And also she serves on, President Arthur serves in a number of key leadership roles within the system, including her role on the executive team of Leadership Council, which comprises the system's president and vice chancellors, who oversees the programs and services provided to the system for over 350,000 students. So please join me in welcoming our president, President Arthur. Please.
I don't have a voice as loud as yours, Raj, so I need the microphone. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome. And I would really want to start off by thanking Austin, and I hope Autumn will extend my gratitude to her Uncle Jim for opening today's conference with an honor song and a prayer. This is very important to us at Metropolitan State because we are right now on Dakota land. And as we think about this topic of restorative justice, we understand and acknowledge our continuing responsibility as a university to use these assets to make sure we provide an inclusive opportunity, culturally relevant education for our Native sisters and brothers. Well, with that, I want to extend a warm welcome to everyone to Metropolitan State University and our Dayton's Bluff campus. I know that some of you have traveled far, maybe even from New York State, although I have to admit, Raj, I've lived in Minnesota now longer than I lived in New York, but I've still grew up in New York, but maybe even some internationally. So I want to make sure you feel welcome to be here in the United States, in the state of Minnesota, and in the beautiful capital city of St. Paul. We are so excited to serve as the host institution for this important conference, the first, I believe, to be held in the United States. In these chaotic times, as you know, we hear of so much violence in the news, as we approach the first anniversary of the violence in Charlottesville last year, it's really heartening to see so many people who are coming together to share their work on restorative justice. It's needed more than ever by our communities. As this conference begins today, I want to underscore that you have made a very good choice in having your conference here at Metropolitan State. And that's because of the vital connection between the university's mission, vision, and values and the humane and just commitments that are clearly implicit in the values undergirding the restorative justice practices of creating opportunities for all stakeholders to encounter one another. The expectation that when there is harm, the harm will be repaired and amends will be made. Inclusion of all involved parties in the resolution of an incident, and seeking to restore the wholeness for victims and offenders and reintegration into society. The members of the Metropolitan State community are motivated to take part in this important work of the conference because of our commitment to building an anti-racist learning community, which is characterized by cultural competence, inclusion, and equity. Our intention to be a place where difficult conversations can take place. Our emphasis on providing opportunity for underserved groups, including those students of color, low-income students, and first-generation students who make up over 70% of our student population. And our history of honoring community-situated knowledge through the validation of that knowledge by assessment of prior learning, and our commitment to learning in, with, and from our community. We may be located on the top of a beautiful river bluff, but we are not an ivory tower. The emerging applications of restorative practices beyond the domains of policing, corrections, the courts, and juvenile justice, where they were developed, into schools, families, workplaces, and other organizations are certainly rich and compelling. But here, as in too many other communities, restorative justice practices in the criminal justice space still seem to be fighting to establish a beachhead. And there's still much to be learned, and I think you will be doing that over the next few days. As we know, there have been tragic losses of life in this community, not too far from where we are right now. And those events are not unrelated to the general ferment that's going on in our society here in the United States and in other places around the world. So your presence here is so important and so timely. The program that's planned for this conference reflects a wealth of experience, understanding, and hard work. It's going to be really difficult to make choices about which sessions to attend. I was reading the descriptions last night, and it's just amazing. I want to thank the team of organizers who've made this amazing event possible here, and in particular to acknowledge the outstanding work of our own Dr. Raj Setharaju, who will now ignore me, I know. Who brings an incredible amount of energy and wisdom that you will learn about and encounter over the next couple of days. I also want to acknowledge his co-conspirators, Natasha and Beth Bailey. I saw many evenings when I was leaving my office late at night, I would see Raj and Beth and Natasha and others who were assisting, sitting in our great hall at a table, working away to plan for this conference. So give them all a round, yes. And now, it is truly my privilege to introduce Jason Soul. Jason is the City of St. Paul's Director of Community First Public Safety Initiatives, and he joins us this morning on behalf of Mayor Melvin Carter. Jason Soul is an alum of Metropolitan State, and he has taught criminal justice for us. He now teaches at Hamline University, and I think he's in the final stages of completing that doctoral degree. Jason has served as the president of the Minneapolis NAACP and has launched several important public safety initiatives in our sister place across the river in Hennepin County. He was a Bush Fellow, which for those who are not from the Midwest is a very prestigious award, and helped launch Mayor Chris Coleman's Community Ambassadors Program, which led to a 63% reduction in juvenile crime during its first year. Jason is the author of a moving memoir, which if you have not read it, I hope you will run out and get it. From Prison to PhD, a memoir of hope, resilience, and second chances. He's in demand nationally as a keynote speaker and trainer, and we are so happy to have him here with us today. Please join me in welcoming Jason Soul.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. How y'all feeling? Come on, how y'all feeling? It's a good place to be in. I can't say enough about Raj. I cannot say enough about Raj, Natasha, everybody that helped put this together. I can't say enough. Raj has always been an amazing force in my life since we met. I love you, man. For real. Yesterday, we had a circle, a community circle for Billy Hughes, who was killed by the police on Sunday. And I wanted to just lift up his voice in this space. You know, he was a Native American brother, and he's no longer with us, so I at least wanted to acknowledge his presence here today. And Raj was able to hold that circle last night, and I'm grateful for that. I had an emergency. I had to get to the Jay-Z and Beyonce concert. Wasn't a true emergency. I was trying to figure out how to bring Jay-Z into restorative practices. I couldn't find a way. So I'm grateful to you. Leela Watson said, "If you have come to help me, you are wasting your time. But if you recognize that your liberation and mind are bound up together, we can walk together." Metro State has given me so much in my life. I mean, when I came out of prison, because I made mistakes, I was lost. I studied here. This is why I learned criminal justice. I completed that 4-year degree in 3 years because I was so entrenched in understanding the system, because the system tried to break me. 23 hours in a cell would drive you crazy. They tried to take my brain. And it's here where I learned you're not innocent till you're proven guilty. You're innocent until you're proven poor. And that was a harsh reality, because I was given those labels as a gang leader, as a felon, as an ex-con. And when I came to Metro State, that's where I was able to transcend. I was able to get enough space to be able to understand how the system actually worked. I was trained in restorative justice in 2007 by Jamie and Oscar, and I'm grateful for that experience to learn restorative justice practices. I always tell people that, you know, restorative justice allowed me to be an empathetic listener. But my wife says restorative justice taught me to be a listener. I thought I listened pretty well, but she's like, no, it made you a listener. So I'm grateful for restorative justice, because restorative justice allowed me to be vulnerable. I wouldn't have told my story if I wasn't able to go to a space to acknowledge the harms that I had done, to be able to understand what made me harsher and what made me rigid around the edges. Restorative justice allowed me to tell another man that I love you. I was staying away from that. Restorative justice has allowed me to engage deeply with my 2 amazing daughters. I'm so grateful to what restorative justice has given me in my life, and I've been able to be in prisons and be able to be in juvenile justice settings, faith-based camps. I've been able to go everywhere and help restore communities because I needed to be restored. Metro State opened the doors to me. It was here where I became a professor. It was here where I met my wife. It was here. This was my first stage for me to practice long time ago. I'm grateful for that. So I'm a community success. I see you, Ed Valandra. Give it up one time for Ed Valandra, please. Please. He was an amazing professor here. When I became leader of the Black Student Association, it was Ed who was leading the charge, who wasn't afraid to speak truth to power. It was grateful to walk in the steps behind you. I'm grateful for you, Ed. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. I just wanted to give a warm welcome. The mayor wanted to be here, but he's a little busy these days, as you can imagine. He's a little busy. But I wanted to read something to you before I actually left. It's called The Person Sitting Next to You. It's just a welcome that I want to center us with. If you can close your eyes and follow along with your heart, if you want, you can put your hands on your lap. Just listen to these powerful words. It was read to me for the first time. I was in Graterford Prison, and I was in a circle with lifers. And in Philadelphia, life means you're going to die there. And they read this in our closing circle. It's called The People Sitting Next to You. Who are the people sitting next to you? The people next to you are the greatest miracles you will ever meet at this moment, and the greatest mysteries. The people next to you have an inexhaustible reservoir of possibilities which have only been partially touched. The people next to you are a unique universe of experience, seething with necessity and possibility, dread and desire, smiles and frowns, laughter and tears, fears and hopes, all struggling to find expression. The people next to you are surging to become something, to arrive at some destination, to have a story and a song, to be known and to know. The people next to you believe in something, stand for something, count for something, labor for something, wait for something, run from something, run towards something. The people next to you are more than any description, are more than any explanation, are more, much, much more. The people next to you are searching for meaning, for inner peace, for self-esteem, for something they already have. They just have to realize that. The people next to you have problems and fears just like you, are often undecided, but are endowed with the great toughness in the face of adversity, and are able to survive the most unbelievable difficulties and challenges. The people next to you are combinations of people met during all of their lifetimes. The people next to you have something they can do better than anyone else in the world, have strengths they do not even recognize, need to talk to you about those abilities, need you to listen. But do they dare speak them to you? The people next to you need a friend, want a friend, can comfort you, care for you, understand you, and love you. Isn't that what you want? It's what they want. The people next to you are special human beings, and so are you. You want to get to know these people. Open your eyes. If you have come to help me, you are wasting your time. But if you recognize that your liberation and mine are bound up together, we can walk together. Enjoy the 2018 International Conference on Restorative Practices. Thank you.
So, Mother Teresa once said, yep. She said that it is easy to cite examples. We often, all of us, have examples to cite. But to be the example is the work that you and I need to do, right? Towards that end, I want to recognize my partner, Beth Bailey, who became the example for me in this work. As we tunneled into this work about a year ago, it seemed impossible, right? Seemed impossible. But she, with a smile every day, said to me that we are going to do this. So please join me in thanking Beth Bailey for helping out. We have a few things that we want to share before we introduce our keynote speaker. I know you all are anxiously waiting. I also want to just share that Beyonce actually is somehow related to this, right? Beyonce did a concert during the 50th anniversary of the founding of the Black Panther movement in Oakland, California. So give it up for that, sister. Put a ring, put a ring, put a ring. So a couple of things. Mornings we meet here, right? If you haven't registered, go on up there, get some coffee, come on back up here, hang out at the open field. It's going to be gorgeous in Minnesota because we are going to have 90 degrees. So enjoy yourself. Get a tan while you are restoring yourself, right? This is where we'll meet for our keynote, and this is also where we will meet for our panel presentation in the afternoon after lunch. So this is your main hub, and then you will have two other places where most of your workshops will be held, and they are St. John's Hall and everywhere. Thanks to Brent and gang, all of the blue people in the blue, the gang in the blue, right? Give it up for them, for their work. They have put signs all over the campus, so please, if you do not find yourself in the right space, ask the people in the blue, right? Ask the people in the blue and make sure you get to your place. We might run over time or run under time. Please be forgiving, and please forgive us for any mistakes that we have already made and we will make, right? I want to ask all of you to please remember to bring your best, bring your humanity to this process, be vulnerable, right? Be engaging, and let us take that risk of asking questions so that we can listen. As the brother in Stillwater Prison taught me, he said, Raj, listen. I said, man, I've been listening. No, he said, no. Listen. Learn. I mean, listen, learn, and only then lead, right? But we all are taught in a Eurocentric culture to always be leaders without really listening and learning. So I want to really deconstruct that idea and really invite us to be a part and parcel of this learning community and this opportunity that we have at this time. Oh, this hashtag, what is it? It's gone. Oh, hashtag our one and only Cecito created, Restoring Self. Is that right? Restoring Self. So if you want to do any hashtagging, tweeting at 3 in the morning, right? Let's flood that market at 3 in the morning, right? For hashtag restoring and healing, restoring self. Anything else?
Welcome, everyone. Just a few extra things that are happening. Tonight we have a walking tour, and if anyone would like to be a part of that, I would invite you to sign up at the registration desk. Tomorrow night we're going to come back, or tomorrow afternoon, we'll have pizza out there, and then grab some pizza, a quick bite to eat, and come on back here for a film about restorative justice. And then Saturday afternoon, we're ending with celebration with ice cream and drumming and reflections. And we really invite you to stay through to the end and to be part of that Saturday afternoon event that will be between 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock here.
There is a request, and understandably, we have a lot of people standing at the back. So if you will, lift up yourself and move closer to the middle so people, the aisle seats will open up, people can move in, right? So please do that. Please. Yeah, come on down, come on down.
So when you, after you introduce me, you'll click to that second slide. Yeah, no. The bottom arrow.
Okay, you have 30 seconds. Let's move. Okay, thank you all. Thank you for accommodating. Thank you for accommodating. So a quick reminder, we have a restorative invitation for all of us to be a part of, and we will be handing that out, right? Lauren Thrift will be handing that out, but it simply reads this way, right? In this time of conflict and pain, we invite people to come here with an open heart and an open mind, willing to be bent, moved, coerced at times, to be vulnerable, to listen, to learn and lead. No matter what we hear, let it not be seen as an individual offense. We are here to expand our knowledge base. We are all here for learning. We all need to listen. We may not agree with one another. Our RP work is messy, right? So let us recognize our messy humanity. Right, with that, I want to introduce our keynote speaker, right? Our keynote speaker, our one and only Stephanie Autumn, right? Stephanie Autumn, please, yes. One and only, right? Stephanie Autumn brings extensive experience in developing, implementing, and evaluating programs in Indian country. As member of the Hopi tribe, Ms. Autumn has 38 years of local, national, international, all advocacy and policy work experience, and has presented at various human rights forums in the United States, in United Nations, in Geneva, Switzerland, and in New York. She has worked throughout the country on issues of American adult and juvenile justice, substance abuse prevention, restorative practices / justice, and tribal youth mentoring programs. As Ms. Autumn served as the executive director of the Minnesota Restorative Justice Campaign for 5 years and is a nationally known expert restorative practitioner, facilitator, trainer, and circle keeper, and family group decision maker, trainer, and facilitator. Ms. Autumn's expertise includes working in diverse school districts to adapt restorative practices training curriculum to ensure inclusiveness of the diverse cultures of the student population. She has directed national projects on American Indian adult and juvenile domestic assault, restorative practices, pre and post release services for all offenders, tribal mentoring, and truancy. She has recently served as a project director for 3 DOJ-funded programs for tribal youth, which provided training and technical assistance to over 135 tribal grantees. Ms. Autumn has provided expertise, and expert witness for the Minnesota and South Dakota Department of Corrections with regards to traumatic brain injury and trauma-informed care needs and issues with incarcerated American Indian juvenile and adults. For the past 15 years, Ms. Autumn has provided expertise to the Minnesota Department of Education on disproportionality, issues that impact American Indian adults, youth, and communities. She is currently working on a project with the Bureau of Indian Affairs and Red Lake Band of Ojibwe to develop a healing to wellness center for Red Lake tribal youth and families. Ms. Autumn is the founder of the American Indian Prison Project Working Group, and she's a proud member of the People of Color Collaborative Circle Keepers here in Minnesota also. So please join me in welcoming Ms. Autumn.
Don't you blame me for your problem. I'm not your Indian anymore. You belong to white man when you can't change me, don't you try. We don't want your white man rule no more. We can live our own way. You can't change me, don't you try. We don't want your white man rule no more. We can live our own way.
Dear America, for the past 245 years, you have tried to make us invisible. your Declaration of Independence, your dark blanket of genocide that forced removal from our ancestral homelands, your governmental policies. You have tried to make us invisible. The criminalization of our life ways and ceremonies, the theft of our children, the imprisonment of our leaders, of our people, through the missing and murdered indigenous women. You have tried to make us invisible. Dear America, your skyscrapers block out the sun, and your economic exploitation of our land and resources try to take away our very life breath. And you still try to make us invisible. But you did not succeed, because we are still here. We are here because of a spirit. We are here because we are the natural part of this earth. We are here because our ancestors and all of our relations who have gone before us, they are here. And they are standing with us. And they will not allow us for another second, for another minute, for another hour, for another day to ever be invisible again. Red bar.
Check, check, testing, testing. Okay, sounding good. How you guys doing? As I introduced myself, my name is Austin Owen in the prior beginning, but also I'm a DJ, I'm an artist, musician, I'm part of different groups, and I also do, along with just like parties, and I can, I can get down with you guys, and also I can be a part of some rebel music as well. So I have this song that I'm about to do. It's called Red Power. Me and my father, he helped me with the language aspect of the song. You know, I'm trying myself to learn my language, learn my songs, but he helped me create a song that was somewhat of a prayer song, but I can mix it into a form of a rap song. So I'm gonna sing it in the form of a prayer song, and then you'll hear the full version. Oh ya te he taha, oh ya te he taha, we cho haki cha, nina te wakina mitaku ye, o te bretia po, o te bretia po, hey ya, hey ya, hey yo. And that right there translate to my people and way of life I cherish a lot. My people have courage. My people have courage.
500 years we have had to fight and resist and struggle against the oppressor who has come. They called us Indians and said that we didn't have any rights. They called us Indians and said that we were no longer people. They called us Indians and they used their manifest destiny mentality to justify their genocide against us.
I'm from a forgotten nation, forced to live in isolation. Put a camps like concentration today, we call them reservations. No justice, no reparations for my people's decimation. We can fight for legislation against American assimilation. Destroy our culture and our name. Women, children, and warriors slain. Yet somehow still we remain a bunch of savages you'll never tame. Native, loud, and proud, we claim no matter what tribe, we're all the same. Been through a lot, but we overcame 586 years of pain. Our destinies manifested by the founding fathers elected. Some treated to be protected, left us killed, hung, and arrested. Infected by epidemic diseases. Our strength in numbers decreases. Tell us to put our faith in Jesus, and in due time he'll relieve us from the biggest heist in history. My whole life just seems to get to me. How nice this country is. You see the minute for America, who's meant to be. They left the slave street, then he hung 38. Largest execution in the United States. American history gets your story straight, cause we know the truth and what you're telling is fake. We don't Forgiven but never forgotten how my people were treated so rotten from the battles, the wars that we fought, and yet we continue to keep on walking. Aiming not idle no more. Raising speaking, we still ignore that the issues we face are bigger than race, and ignorance cannot unembrace. But at least the concern for massacres are placed on our water, our land, and traditions at stake. It's time to hold down and protect for our sake, for our women and children and futures that fate. Starts with us to make a change, to break the cycle and snatch the chain that. So that we can carry on and still remain. Rebel red power to the day I die. Count cool while I war cry. Spreading my wings I soar high. Ready and willing to fight for my. Oh yeah, I pray that one day we can find a way. We got to stand up, there's no time to wait. From buckets to the way. There's personal coders in Coeur d'Alene. Like I said, we bang for the tribe to play. But hope your patches and never hope. She only can match your rapper. Hope keep rapping your band and let it show. From Blackfoot to Mandan and Kiowa. The whole chunk went a big one Omaha. For the tribes I left out, I got love for y'all. Take a hug, we show hakita, nina te wakina, mitaku ye, otabre chiapo, hey ya. No doubt to those performers with all the guts, without the glory. We live to tell the story, trying to defend my territory from stolen property, sold to being massacred in the cold, infringing treaties for gold, being told to go. Hell no. I know where I come from. The descent of a race that's been undone. All my idols and heroes are unsung. So when honor we ride and we run from exile and execution, seize the weapons because they were too afraid of losing. You keep that not solution. Recruiting. All right, well, I forgot my verse right there, but that's the gist of my song. Go Red Power, thank you.
Loma, Ihani Washte. Good morning. I want to say Wopila Tonka to my uncle, Jim Claremont, who, as an elderly man, he had a hard time getting here. He shared a story. But he came here to pray for us because he loves his people, because he loves this earth, and because he has hope that each and every one of you moving forward will carry his prayer, will carry his heart when he crosses over to the spirit world. Wopilitanka to my son, who joins me to share his voice, because we believe in our world that things have to be in balance. Even though I just turned 29 and a half the other day, I need to have a younger person. But my son, he comes with me because we believe these ways, what Western society is calling restorative justice, we don't call it that. We call it restorative practices. We call it a way of life. We call it a way of being. We call it a way of how we take care of our life breath. I want to acknowledge that we are on Dakota homeland. And I want to acknowledge Mr. Art Owen, if you could stand up. He's a representative of the Prairie Island Dakota community. He is Austin's father, and Shema is my ex-husband as well. Thank you for being here. So I thought today, when I was thinking and praying about this, because it's not always easy to come and stand before people. Because in our way, we are taught not to stand in front of people. We are taught to walk alongside our people, not ahead of our people. So I find myself today standing in front of you. And part of my prayer, when I was thinking about how do I come here and represent, because I am only one person. I represent no one. I do not represent the Hopi Nation. I do not represent all Indian people. I represent myself as a Hopi woman whose father came from Old Aribe and who has walked on this earth for 64 years in this country called the United States of America. I represent my experiences of activism and how, as Indigenous people, we had this thing, and I apologize to anyone who came before me on the stage, and they said the words, and I was sitting back there, and they said something to the effect that somehow this thing that we're calling restorative justice, that it came from here. It came from some system, from Department of Education or Department of Corrections. But it did not come from your systems. This thing we're calling restorative practices, it came from Indigenous people, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. It wasn't born from any PhD. It was born because of the natural relationship that the Indigenous people of this Turtle Island, of where my brothers and sisters come from in South America, that's the Westerners call South America, or Mexico, or what's now called Canada, or Africa, anywhere there is a drop of Indigenous people blood, this is where it came from. So if I represent anything today, I am representing that Indigenous people lit this fire when you were looking towards this land for your freedom, for your liberation, and that we will never, ever relinquish that history to your system. When I was thinking about today, I realized that Creator places opportunities in front of us for a variety of reasons. And once I got over the fact that possibly my front tooth might fall out because I had an accident a while ago and it's loose, I realized the other daunting piece of this, if I was really going to stand before you as a restorative practitioner, was how do I make this reflective, these words, reflective of what we call restorative practices. And it's about decolonizing the language that we're using about these ways that some of you call restorative justice. I can no longer use that terminology, restorative justice, and I say that to you in a good way. Everywhere I go in Indian country, I ask people, I ask young ones, I said, when I say that word restorative, what comes to your heart? What comes to your mind? What comes to your spirit? And it's always good things, like to repair, to heal, to make whole again, to be able to walk forward. And then I ask, let's look at that word restorative in my left hand, and I bring to it that word justice. And if I put those two words together, my spirit shudders. Because we know there is no place in our communities, in our homelands, where there has been restorative justice. That is an oxymoron for my people, for people of color. So we move forward, decolonizing that language and saying, we will hold on to, we will promote, we believe, and we will love these restorative practices, ways. And that's the terminology that I hope that you will move forward, that you will understand when you're working alongside us in our communities, that justice is vacant. Justice is absent for indigenous people and people of color. When I was reflecting about being the first speaker of this 3-day conference, I thought Creator had a pretty good sense of humor, because the title of this conference is Restoring Self, Restoring Community, Restoring the World. But in the world that I go to sleep in the world that I wake up in, our people, we have been taught that we think of the world first. So I am starting my words with you to ask you, as you think about restoring self, that you think about how we as indigenous people integrate the natural world into what we are calling restorative practices. We cannot move forward with these practices unless we are looking at this world and our relationship to the world. We believe this world is our first mother. She is our lifeblood. How are we standing with this world? I came to Minnesota in 1982 from the Pine Ridge Reservation. When I was living on Pine Ridge, I was doing a lot of American Indian movement work, activism work. And an elder mentored me about this thing that is called restorative justice, restorative practices. We weren't calling that on the res because we circle up in everything. Everything indigenous people do is in a circle because it's a natural way of life. Everything about the circle revolves around the natural world. So my words to you today, that if you are not aligned with the natural world, if you are not observing the natural world, the sun, the moon, the stars, the earth, the trees, the water, if you are not observing those things and reflecting on how this natural world is integrating into your work as restorative practitioners, you will be out of balance. You will never, ever be able to reach that place where your vision is to work for the people. When I came here in 1982, there was a lot of systems people. When I would share, go to their, I was hearing this thing about restorative justice, and I was like, hey, I know about that, but we don't call it that on the res, but I know about it. I know how to facilitate circles. And I was met with a lot of, well, who trained you? Do you have a master's? Did you go to the Yukon? And I was like, what? Tunkashala trained me. The elders trained me. They gave me permission to use my voice. They gave me permission to use my heart. They gave me permission to think about these things that we are now calling restorative practices. Part of what we know as indigenous people, and when I say indigenous people, it means not only my native people, it means all people of color. It means my black brothers and sisters, my Latino brothers and sisters, my Asian brothers and sisters. And you know what? If you weren't in one of those categories, it also means you. Because what I am here today to represent and ask you to think about and beg you to think about is that if you are going to move forward these restorative ways, then I want you to remember that each of you come from a different land. but that your people were indigenous to that land, that your people had a language like my people, that your people had a way to pray, that your people had a connection to caretake this earth the same way that the native people, the First Nations, were given. We were given this way to take care of each other. I ask you to think about your connection to your land so you can better understand why we will fight until there is no breath left in us for this sacred land that we call Unchimaka. And how all your work, when we think about restoring world, that first step really begins with thinking about the land and that relationship before we facilitate circles, before we facilitate family group, before we do mediation. We have to ask ourselves, how am I standing in relationship to this land? I come from a nation of weavers, and myself, I don't weave. I barely bead. I don't know how to quill, but I know how to pray. I know how to work in my community, and I know how to observe, and I know how to listen, and I know how to apply those things to be of service. Because I don't place myself above you. I don't place myself in front of you. I place myself in a position of your relative. And when I think of restorative practices through the indigenous model, we are taught that being a good relative is core to everything. And I've witnessed since I've been here in the 80s that we have a lot of work to do, all of us, not only the restorative practices community in the Twin Cities and in the state, but over this country, throughout the world. We are not walking in balance. We are not practicing these beautiful ways with each other of respect and love and equity and compassion and honesty. But we use those words as restorative practitioners as if we were. So as someone who observes, and I was thinking about this, how do we move forward in healing our own restorative practices community? And that first step is honesty and owning our work if we are going to uphold this beautiful thing that we call restorative practices. And doing our work is recognizing that how can we move forward if we are not recognizing the First Nations of people and our responsibilities to repair the harm that this United States government continually imprints on Indigenous people? How can we move forward and say we are a movement until we look at this first harm? Until we look at Indigenous sovereignty and what that means in your cities, in your counties, in your states. When I observe the weaving of my people, there's a thread, and it's called the wafting thread. If there are weavers, you will know what I am saying. It is the thread that holds everything together. And so when I think about this thing, restorative practices, and how we move forward in the world, move forward in our community, move forward within ourselves to serve, I ask you to reflect and to be inclusive and to know that part of your work is decolonizing the language that I have heard in restorative practices. I have heard young people be called offenders. I have heard adults be called offenders. I have heard unrestorative language in circles and family group. I have seen a twisting of the indigenous family group decision-making conferencing where it is no longer restorative. I have seen circles where systems, they decide what is best. The child has no voice, the family has no voice, the family has no place. I ask you to reflect on that today. And that was the challenge of coming here, because I know this conference was built on love. This conference was built on good things. And I think that Creator put me here to be your voice of reality, your voice of honesty, that we cannot move these good things forward until we repair those harms that are right here on this Dakota homeland, on Anishinaabe homeland, on Dene homeland, First Nations homeland. It's so easy for America to charge forward under the umbrella of restorative practices and restorative justice without that being the starting point. So you can move forward without repairing these harms. But we will always be here. We will never be invisible again to remind you that your work also includes decolonizing and dismantling the colonization that exists not only for our people, but of people of all colors in the United States of America. And it exists in our movement of restorative practices. We are here to tell you we are going to decolonize restorative practices. We are going to push forward our agenda as Native and people of color for political, social, and economic justice through these ways. And we want to work with you. And we want to work beside you. But we have to expand that agenda. It has to be included. The First Nations and the harm that has taken place here for us and people of color in the last 245 years. Until we dismantle the racism and inequity, we cannot move forward as a movement. In the indigenous worldview, we know that our work is tied to the earth. And part of that is environmental justice. And I was dismayed that less than a month ago, the state of Minnesota is allowing the continual exploitation of oil from what we're calling Land 3. The state of Minnesota allows the continual mining of resources. The state of Minnesota allows the poisoning and pollution in our waters. So as you think about restorative practices, you have to be inclusive. How is your work taking care of our First Mother, this earth? We can't be satisfied just to say we're going to go do circles in schools, we're going to go do circles in communities, we're going to do family group decision-making conferencing. We have to think about righting the first wrongs if we are really going to be able to sustain restorative practices. For us as Indigenous people, it is about defending the sacred. So today I stand before you having to use these English words and try to take an indigenous worldview and say this is how really Restorative Practices was born. It was born from us. It was born from our land. But in trying to think of how I share these words, I've told you this story, and you know in all of our practices, we tell our story. And now I want you to think about how will we repair the harm? There's a gentleman that's been incarcerated for 43 years. His name is Leonard Peltier. He is part of this Restorative Practices movement. Until Leonard is free from prison, none of us will be free. When I was talking to him about how we bring up this indigenous idea and integrate and braid that if we're going to do this work in our communities, how do we repair this earth? And I asked him, I said, how do we talk about this in our communities and in other communities? And he shared with me, I don't know how to save the world. I don't have the answers. I hold the secret knowledge on how to fix the mistakes of generations past and present. I only know that without compassion and respect for all of the earth's inhabitants, none of us will survive, nor will we deserve to.
Now it's my mother, Maina. She's talking about how we walk in this earth and the practices we do and what we do in our fields. We also need to walk and respect this earth we live on. So if you would mind just standing for this prayer song, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you. So the last seed that I'm going to ask you to think, because I always say restorative practices to me is revolutionary. It's a revolutionary movement, the indigenous model of restorative practices. So as I think about this state that I've lived in for 35 years, and I think about the shrinking land base of its first people, the Dakota, the Ojibwe, the Anishinaabe, the Winnebago people here. Their lands every day continually get smaller and smaller and smaller. Their waters get dirtier and dirtier. The air becomes unbreathable. So I ask all of you, any of my relatives that are from the state of Minnesota, to think about this idea of reparation. It is a revolutionary idea that may have you running from it. But as restorative practitioners, and thinking about if we're really going to call ourselves restorative practitioners, we have to make right with the First Nation people of this land that we walk on. So I ask all of you who may own, or you think you own a piece of this land in Minnesota, I ask you to think about how will you give it back to Dakota people, to Anishinaabe people. It does not belong to you. I would want to believe before I cross over that my brothers and sisters who are restorative practitioners, that you will take that hard step and figure out how you give your ownership in this state of these lands back to the people who were given the inherent rights to take care of this earth. When we see the enlarging of the indigenous Dakota Anishinaabe lands in the state, then we can raise our hands. Then we can say we're a movement. Then we can say, yes, we can heal, we can move forward. But until that day comes, our movement will be frozen. Whoops. Apparently my slides have become backwards. With the little time reminding, I'm always thinking that I'm not going to have enough words in my heart to say. And then I look at the clock and I realize, boy, I still have 72 slides back. Just kidding. So that I know that in the beginning my words may have made your spirit feel uncomfortable, may have made you want to not listen. When I speak my words about recreation of the land, about repairing harm to the First Nation, maybe your mind cannot embrace it, but please know, in the time that I have left with you, I am saying these words out of love. I am saying these words because I love your people. I am saying these words because I go in and out of prisons working with my people, but I see your people. I am saying these words because what we are doing now is not enough. We are building more prisons than schools. We have made this prison complex an industry that cannot survive without my people, without people of color. I am asking you to join with Native people, with people of color, to shut these prisons down. And I believe in my heart, I believe with every last breath I have, with every step I make, with every prayer I have in my heart and my head, that we can do it. Every morning I wake up and I have made the same prayer. I ask Tunkashla, please let there be a day that my people are no longer in prison. I ask that you join me in that prayer. And that's where your work comes in, because taking these practices inside the schools is not enough. We need to revolutionize the policies, our advocacy, and the services, and we need to fund resources for our young children, the mental health resources for children and youth that continually get cut. This is our first step if we want our children to thrive. Let's not think about how we build more restorative practices program. Let's actually be restorative and think about how we get that money back to those kids, back to those families, so they have the services that they need. I always tell myself that my job is to work myself out of a job. I hope that's how you see your job. And I believe through these beautiful, loving ways that we call restorative practices that we can. But you will not be able to do this unless you are including the First Nations and people of color. If they are not standing beside you and leading your organizations and leading your schools and leading these every system that impacts and oppresses us and puts us in prison, if you are not making a place and space for Native people and Black people and Latino people and Asian people to lead, you are not a restorative practitioner. So I am asking you to move over and make a place and make a space for us. Because we love our children, because we love this earth, because we love you, and we are asking you to do the difficult work that we have had to do here in this place called the United States of America for the last 245 years. We had made a place for you. I am asking you to give us back that place in this movement called restorative practices. I am asking you to think about the words of our young people who say, nothing about us without us. As a Native restorative practitioner, as a woman of color, I am asking my brothers and sisters from the Twin Cities, People of Color Restorative Practices Collective, to stand up now. If you're in this room, stand up. Alexis, Talea, everyone who is part of the People of Color Restorative Practices movement. I am challenging everyone to talk with these individuals. Take a look of who they are. In your next 3 days, your work should be finding out how you work with them, how you move forward your restorative practices, programs, and work with these men and women. Can I hear a round of applause for their courage, for their work? In closing, the young man who shared those good words, he was formerly incarcerated. He's a leader. I believe every person in prison, unless there is a physical or psychological issue, can come out and be a leader. He is an example of what is impossible. 4 days ago, our Native community suffered another loss, and that was the death of Mr. Billy James Hughes. And as we move forward as restorative practitioners, I am here to say it's not only Native lives matter, it's Black life matters, brown life matters, your life matters. Let's not let this last police killing become invisible again. Let us lift up that family. Let us move forward and seek truth and advocacy to change the policy so there is not ever another Billy James Hughes that we will have to mourn. So as we leave as you begin to move forward in the hours, in the days that you are here on this sacred Dakota land, to be in conversation with your colleagues, with your relatives, making new friends. Know that I stand before you today because I believe in you, because I believe in these ways, because I believe in our people that we can make this change. But it's going to be hard work, and it doesn't mean just convening a circle. It means the hard work of educating, advocating, and organizing our communities to change what they call justice. I ask you to think about the movements that brought you here, the DNA that is in your body, your lifeblood memory. I ask you to think if there is going to be a future for your children, for our children. Each one of you have to work harder. We have to fight together. Because as long as there is one person who does not know what equity and justice is, we will never move forward. So as you move forward through this day, I ask that you commit, like our communities have committed, Native communities, communities of color have committed, that we know without these ways that we're calling restorative practices, we will not survive the United States government. We will not survive the police force. We will not survive this education system that is imprinted on us. We will only survive as if restorative practices becomes a way of life for every woman, man, and child. That there is a day that we will no longer need prisons. There is a day that police are no longer killing. There is a day that we can walk our streets and not be in fear. I ask you, think about those that you love. Think about the communities you live in. Remember the First Nations. Remember people of color as you move forward to do your work. Move forward in love. Move forward with peace in your heart and your mind. And don't forget the glory of doing this work. The glory of living. The glory of believing. I believe in these ways, and I believe in you. Wopila Tonka for everything that you do, and I hope your next 3 days is filled with glory. God bless you.
Thank you all. As you take your seats back, make sure you look around, shake hands with the person right next to you, left, right, center, middle, over, down. All right, make sure you shake hands, get to know people as you are about to venture out and find your workshop settings. I want to make sure you recognize all the people in the blue shirts, ask them for directions, and get to your workshops. So they are both all in this directions, right? In this direction. New St. John's Hall and the library. Let us go, listen, learn, and lead. Get out of here! Make sure you get to your workshop.